Hi everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. I have another great plant-based recipe for you today. This is an easy recipe. This is one that you can use not only as a standalone sauce, but also something you can use to enhance the flavors of some of the other recipes that we're going to be making. So today we're going to make kale pesto. And yes, it is a kale pesto, so a little bit different than traditional pesto that is basil based. We're going to use up some of that kale that is so readily available at this time of year. Lots of people ask me, what do I do with my kale? So this is going to be a fun way to use it. I'm also going to incorporate some flat leaf parsley. I just have that in my refrigerator. I'm going to use it up. So if you have other herbs, you can incorporate those. If you do have some basil in your cupboard, you can use that too. So or in your refrigerator. So I have kale here. This is a whole bunch of kale, and I've already washed it. And we don't want the stem part of the kale. We just want the leafy part. The stem is just going to be a little too tough for this recipe and a little bit too bitter. So to remove your leafy part from your stem, you're just going to hold the bottom part of your stem and just pull, and that's just going to remove the leafy part. I'm going to use a very small food processor to make this. You could use a blender or a Vitamix or a regular sized food processor. I only have little ones, so we're going to use that. So I'm going to really pack mine in there. So pretty basic ingredients. We're going to add in our kale leaves. And I'm going to pack mine pretty tight in there because my food processor is small. But you'll watch as it chops down, it sort of disintegrates. This is some of my parsley, so I'm just going to pull the leaves off of that, and I'm going to squeeze in a little of that. You know, if you have a small food processor like I do, and you want to make more, you can make this and split it into 2 batches. That would be fine too. So again, just moving some of these green parts. I don't put the stems in because I feel like they don't process quite as smooth as the leaves do, and I want this to be pretty nice and smooth. So I'm not going to put those in this, but those would be something that you could save and use in your stock. We've done the stock recipe, the veggie stock, so you could certainly save those to use in there. All right, I'm packing it in pretty good. I can fit a little bit more. And as we process it, I will probably stop it and squeeze even a little bit more in. Now you can make pesto with just basil. You can make it with other types of greens. You could do it with some spinach. But this is a good way to use up that kale. All right, I'm pretty packed. And I just about got most of my bunch in. Grab these couple little pieces off the bottom and make sure I get those in. I don't even know what that is. That's a different herb that got mixed in. Okay, so the next step, we're gonna add a couple more ingredients, but I'm gonna come over to my stove and I'm just gonna warm up a pan on medium heat because we're gonna toast our nuts that are gonna go into this. So that's just gonna get my pan warming up. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna add are 2 cloves of garlic, and a knife would be helpful. I'm just gonna smash my garlic and take the skin off. Food processor will take care of the rest. So just squeeze it in there. I don't like the look of that clove, so I'm gonna smash another one. All right, so there's 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna take the not so good part off of this clove of garlic. I'm gonna throw in a little bit more. There we go. All right, so olive oil is gonna be another component of this. So ideally you would be able to stream your olive oil in while your greens are processing. My little guy here, I can't do that with, so we're just gonna add it in there. So it's gonna be anywhere between 1/4 cup and 1/2 cup of olive oil. I didn't add my whole bunch of kale, so I'm going to start with 1/4 cup, and as I process it down, I might be adding a little bit more. So mine, because I can't stream it in, it's just going to go straight in. So I'm just starting with 1/4 cup. Like I said, I might add a little bit more later. Next is going to be some lemon zest. So lemon zest, if you've not used it before in cooking, is a a great option because it adds lemon flavor without the acidity. It's also where the essential oils or those cancer fighters like to hang out in your lemon. They're in the zest of it. So I'm going to use my microplane. If you don't have a microplane, that's okay. Most people have a cheese grater, and you may not have noticed, most of us use this big side of our cheese grater. If you flip it over to the side, there are some smaller holes. This actually is the same size as a microplane, and you can use this as a microplane. So that's an option if you don't have a microplane, which looks like this. And I'm just gonna go around, and we're just taking the top layer off the lemon. So we don't want a lot of that white because the white part is going to be the bitter part. So we just want the real yellow part. And we stop when you get to the white. Now if you've had your microplane, as long as I've had mine, which I've had mine a long time, I didn't even think about over time that they dull. And I've started to notice mine is dulling. So microplanes, because you really can't sharpen them, they will have to be replaced eventually. I didn't even think about that. All right. So you can see I've left pretty much the white part, just took off the yellow part. So I'm going to add this in. And like I said, the inside of the microplane is not sharp too, so I can run my finger down that. I made a mess with mine. I'm gonna sneak out the rest of this that I spilled all over my counter. Get rid of these greens. All right, my pan is probably warm enough now, so we're gonna go over there. So we're gonna add some nuts to this. I'm gonna do traditional pine nuts, which look like these. They come in a container, kind of like this sometimes if you find them at the grocery store. They can be a little bit on the pricey side. I won't deny that. So walnuts work just fine, or almonds can work fine too. So I'm gonna put my pine nuts in this nice hot pan, and I want to get them a little bit toasted. It's anywhere from about a 1/4 cup to a 1/3 of a cup of pine nuts. Right now, this is about a 1/4 cup. I didn't use quite all my greens, but you can always add a little bit more. So we're just gonna kind of shake them around in the pan. And you can start to smell them, and you can start to see they're just starting to brown a little bit. I'm gonna turn my heat down too, because my pan's pretty hot. So we just want them to release those oils, because that's where you open up a whole nother layer of flavor. You don't want to burn them, and they will burn fast. So I can probably turn my heat off because my pan has enough residual heat. So I'm just kind of, you can see how nice and toasty they're getting. You can smell them, they smell so good. So if you're using walnuts, do the same thing. Put them in your pan and get them just a little bit toasty. And they just add a whole nother delicious layer of flavor. All right, so my nuts are ready and they're going in. Hopefully I don't make a mess with these. If you do buy pine nuts, you don't use them all, I highly recommend storing them in your freezer or refrigerator until you use them next time, because they will spoil. I'm getting pine nuts everywhere. Okay, so everything's pretty much in. Oh, salt. Gotta add a little salt. So I'm gonna add about 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Like I said, I didn't use quite my whole bunch because my guy didn't fit it. But we do need to flavor it with some salt. And I'm gonna add a little bit of cracked black pepper. I like that. If you want to go make it a little bit spicy, you could add some red pepper flakes to it. Process this down a little until those leaves start to disintegrate, and then I can show you what it looks like. All right, so you can see the olive oil is working. working on all of those greens. It's working on those pine nuts. Oh, and it smells actually really good. I'm gonna add a little bit more in now because I can fit a little more in there. And the nuts make the greens a lot less bitter. That's kind of why they're there. So you can, I have the lemon here too. We can, if we feel like at the end it needs a little acidity, we can add a little lemon juice to it. Kind of brightens it up a little bit, just kind of depending on how fresh your greens are. I'm gonna add now a little bit more olive oil because I can tell that it needs it. The pesto is kind of a funny thing. It kind of tells you what it wants. It kind of says, hey, I need some more nuts, or hey, I need some more oil. So we listen to it. That's why I kind of do it in bits and pieces. So you want to stop it at some point and scrape down the sides. Grab a spoon. Spatula. So you kind of want to just scrape down your sides so all these pieces that are stuck on the side can get down there into the blade too. It smells so good. The nice thing about this is that a little bit of it goes a really long way. So I know it seems like, gosh, Greta, you added a lot of oil to that. I'll tell you what, just a little bit of this adds so much flavor. So this is gonna last a while. This is gonna be for, you know, several recipes. You can top this just a little spoonful on top of a grain bowl to add flavor. Just a spoonful in some rice or pasta to, you know, as a dish to add flavor. We're actually gonna add it into our minestrone soup. More like a condiment than I do a sauce, because you think of it like mustard. You know, you just put a little bit of it because it packs so much wonderful flavor. And this is kind of the consistency that we're looking for, that it's almost like a smooth, delicious paste. And I'm actually going to taste it because I want to see where we're at flavor-wise. And if I want to add more greens now and pack all that in there, I can. So good. Absolutely so good. At this point, it would be done. So this, you just want to store in a sealed container. You can freeze it beautifully. If you're going to use it right away, maybe just store a little bit in a container. We're going to save this one for our vegetable minestrone, so don't go too far away with all of it. Maybe split it up and just freeze half of it. And we'll be back soon with minestrone. Thank you.